Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I am laughing at the trade machine as I just heard that Fred VanVleet's going to be signing with Clutch, and heard about the framework of what they thought a deal would look like if he were to try to come to the Lakers. And then I combined the deal that I proposed last night, as I was just in a fit of frustration, or rather the night before after the Spur game, and I just said that I wanted the Lakers to trade Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook to the Toronto Raptors for about 5 wings. And you can combine these two trades and actually get it done mathematically. Essentially, we'd be trading 3 players for like 9 players, all of them like really good players too. And the thing about it is, if they were willing to do a trade like that, I would not demand any pick equity, and I'd probably throw in the pick equity, to be honest with you, to give them the 2 picks, obviously. For a deal like that, Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, and Patrick Beverley for like literally everybody, not named Scotty Barnes. Yeah, pretty much not named Scotty Barnes. Everyone not named Scotty Barnes. OG Anunoby, Keem Birch, Gary Trent Jr., Pascal Siakam, the whole team, man. Everybody. Fred VanVleet, all of them. The whole Toronto Raptors would be coming to the Lakers, basically, not named Scotty Barnes, for Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, and Patrick Beverley. The salaries match. And I wouldn't hesitate. I just wouldn't, man. Anthony Davis terrifies me, man. Absolutely terrifies me. And the way I see it is, if we're going to be bringing in a Fred VanVleet, we better bring a lot of size with him. I am tired of small ball. So that's my attitude, man. I wouldn't hesitate to do any of that. I really wouldn't. I like the trade that has Patrick Beverley and Russell Westbrook and 2 first-round picks going to Toronto for Keem Birch and Fred VanVleet. You got it, man. Fred VanVleet is that good of a player. If I can't get Kyrie Irving, give me somebody that's up of an echelon, as far as I can tell. That's not the worst thing in the world, because the Keith, to me, is a retradable asset. If I'm going to send those picks out, I want to be damn sure that whatever I'm bringing back can get me either that equity or be that damn good. And Fred VanVleet, even though he's been slumping, most definitely is on both sides of the floor. See, that's the thing that threw me off last year. I didn't think he played no defense. I didn't know he was a gifted defender, let alone a good one. Now, he's a great defender as a smaller player, and so it's like, and he's a fantastic scorer. So it's a two-way thing that you're paying for with this guy. Even though he's a small ball player, it's not like you're picking up Patrick Beverley type stuff. He's going to give you his 30 points on the other side. And that type of 30 points is going to be the catch and shoot stuff that LeBron James can use. Guys that he can just dart the ball to as he's floating into the paint, kick it out to a guy like Fred, hit all his shots, stretch the floor like crazy for him and AD. Just park it outside and just be a catch and shoot guy for which I think he's very good at. So I don't worry about that. I think he's going to come in and just basically be a souped up Derek Fisher for us. Honest to God. Just Derek Fisher with all-star upside or talent. He's already an all-star. So that's how I look at it. I wouldn't want to overpay for him, and I know since he's signing with Clutch, you're going to be overpaying for him if you sign him. But you got to consider what it is that you're keeping. If, it's Russell Westbrook's contract you're moving. Obviously, you're bringing on extra years, so you better be sure what you're doing. But at the end of the day, can you retrade Fred VanVleet if for some reason you don't like what you see there? The answer is of course. Of course. You should definitely be able to get, at the very least, a first-round pick and a player for Fred VanVleet if for some reason things go wrong over the next 2 years. At least you should be able to move his contract. And so that's the way I look at it. And at best, you got a leading star point guard over the next couple years. He's going to do damage in this league, just like he's been doing. And so that's what I want to kind of let everybody understand. It's like, I understand he's been slumping, but I also don't think he's a lower tier guy. I really don't. I don't think of him as somebody that I have to say, man, is De'Aaron Fox ready instead? Like, he's of that echelon in my mind. I don't have any qualms about bringing him in. And I'd hope that because he's over the lower echelon of a guy like Trae Young or Ja Morant, that he wouldn't cost as much as them dudes. You know what I mean? Like, he wouldn't cost $60 million a year if he reaches his highest peak. That's my hope. That he can give us some Tony Parker type energy for what we do. A guy that can really do a lot for us. And that's why I'm not against giving up 2 picks for him. honestly, because I'm of the mindset that he's actually worth that, especially if he's on a multi-year deal, which we will be signing him with the guarantees that I'm pretty sure he'd want an extension. That goes without saying. So I think my thing is, um, it becomes a situation where you just have to monitor what makes sense in regards to free agency. Because if you get to a point where you make this move with him, and then you get to free agency and you decide you want to go in a different direction, you would be out of those picks. And what I think is possible, depending on how much of a slump he stays in and how the season ends, let's say he comes here and then something goes wrong, there may be a chance the Lakers may not want to re-sign him, or maybe forced into feeling as if they need to re-sign him if things for some reason don't go right. That's something that is a question mark when you're dealing with a player who's slumping, who's also looking to get paid. So that's the risk. That's one of the reasons why I wouldn't want to give up, so much to get him, because at the end of the day, he is slumping, and so. Granted, I've been one to tell you that he snapped out of that slump a couple weeks ago, but at the same time, I'm gonna keep him at that price based on the fullness of his season. Save me some money. I'm keeping him at that price. So Toronto needs to understand that I think he's slumping, and that's what we're paying for, a slumping star that you need to get rid of. So, that's one of those situations where, like I told you guys last week when I started mentioning Fred VanVleet, I don't envy the Toronto Raptors. This is a sad situation in my mind because of how high I think of him. Them having to let go of him at a lesser price just simply because of necessity, because they have to sign other guys. You don't want somebody you drafted who came up basically as a red shirt guy off the street, if I'm not mistaken, to be a situation where you can't afford to pay him because he's just too good at this point. He just played himself way too far out of your payroll. It's like they got to be an easier way for teams to keep their talent, especially championship talent. A guy who's on a ring with you, it should be something in the cap that allows him a much easier path to stay. And so that's why I think it's sad. But it could be a gift for us if he comes here and plays well. You know what I mean? Obviously, we expect him to. That's really the thought. I think it's something the Lakers should definitely do. I don't think it's something they should hesitate. The one thing that I would want to do for me, and you guys know this all day long, is make sure Kyrie Irving's absolutely off the table. Because I do think that Kyrie Irving's a better player than Fred VanVleet. But I also think Kyrie Irving's probably going to cost more than Fred VanVleet when it's time to re-sign him too. Looking at what's going on in Brooklyn, I got my ideas about what I think I'm looking at, but nevertheless, they're talking about $200 million. Genie's not going to pay it. I know that. And what I think Kyrie is doing and his representation is doing is trying to price themselves too high to re-sign with Brooklyn so they can get the hell out of there without any stress. Like, yeah, it's going to cost you $270 million a year to keep me, Brooklyn, and I can't wait to re-sign with you. And of course, he gets the hell out of there because of it. I think that's what's happening in Brooklyn. I actually think he has his eyes elsewhere, and I think he wants to be here. I still think Kyrie wants to be here, and if we trade those picks for Fred VanVleet, maybe we can't get him. The thing about it is Fred VanVleet is a younger player. He's a younger player, and he's a better defender. So that's when it becomes a thing. Now, Kyrie has shown he's a hell of a defender. In fact, he's starting an All-Star game. He's playing some of the best basketball of his career, of anybody's, of this season. So we got to respect the level that Kyrie's playing at versus what it is he's going to demand in free agency if he comes knocking on our door. But if we've already made the trade for Fred VanVleet, he ain't knocking on our door. So for those who want Kai here, I don't know what his price tag would be in the offseason either. I don't know. I know what he wants to get paid. I don't know if the league ain't going to lowball him for that. Nevertheless, based on some of the circumstances, I just don't know. And that's another reason why I'm not really ready, if I'm Genie, to give up whatever it would take to know what Kyrie's price tag is. Because if I have any desire to have him on my team, there may be a path to him coming to me at a price lesser than whatever Brooklyn's talking about. And maybe a price less than what Fred VanVleet is talking about. Maybe. So I would study those circumstances if I had interest in Kyrie. If they don't have any interest in Kyrie, then Fred VanVleet's a go. You got to do that. There shouldn't be nothing keeping us from doing that. If that option's on the table and you have no interest in Kyrie Irving. And I look at a package of something like Gary Trent Jr., or if you could somehow swindle a way to get OG Anunoby or some really, really talented wing from Toronto, you got to prioritize that trade if you can get one of those two players. You know what I mean? That's one of the reasons why I've been screaming about trading Anthony Davis to the Toronto Raptors. Because I want all of that. All of that stuff Toronto got, I think it should be added to Braun. In fact, if Bron leaves LA, he might want to go to Toronto. That's how I'm thinking. But Scotty Barnes is there. You feel me? And that's the difference. And I don't think Scotty Barnes and Bron necessarily should be playing together. But all the rest of that stuff should definitely be rotating around a facilitating scoring defensive player like Scotty Barnes or, of course, like LeBron James. So that's why I'm like, just help us by sending AD there. And he's still the best player in the deal despite all the talent leaving us. He's still the best player in the deal. And so that, and in my mind, based on the price tag that we paid for him and the level we last seen him at when he was at his best, that's a fair deal. As crazy as that sounds, and as high as a level as Pascal Siakam can actually go, because he can go too. So I don't want to belittle his talent when throwing him into something so massive for a guy that's injury prone, which is why I know for a fact they're going to hang up the phone on me. But if they value Anthony Davis as high as maybe we did for some whatever reason, and they want to pair him up with Scotty, that's not the worst core if you believe in Anthony Davis. You know what I mean? Ain't the worst core. So that's how I'm looking at that. I know Jeannie probably doesn't necessarily want to move Anthony Davis, but I am not for the path forward with worrying about his health and seeing how fragile he's been. I think that part's already been proven. All the stuff that we need to be concerned about his health in regards to, is he too fragile? We already had those questions answered at this point. That's where I'm at. I already got those questions answered. So now it's just about how much I want to go into that situation. And so I don't think a lot of people believe those questions have been answered for some reasons, particularly in the Lakers organization. They seem to still believe that this dude has a long, lengthy, healthy stretch ahead of him, and I don't know why they would think that. Quite honestly, that's where we at. So that's what's in the way, man. That's what's in the way. Is everybody's understanding that Anthony Davis is probably not going to play more than 40 games for you, so they ain't going to want to trade 5 and 6 players for him off the top just for that reason. Which is why I never said that was realistic. It was just something I would want done. Either way, man, the Lakers want to do a deal with the Toronto Raptors. You know I'm up for it. Just make sure that we kick the tires on everything that makes sense in regards to Kyrie and Brooklyn, because I still think they're in a weird spot. They're in a weird spot. And even though he's starting an all-star game and everybody's quick to pay him and all of that, they still got the same taste in their mouth about how things went last year on both sides of that situation. And this is a real honeymoon phase. Everybody's doing well. Let him roll an ankle or something. It's an entirely different conversation, and we know it. So with the talent that Kyrie has and the ability that we may be able to have in regards to acquiring him and what that means for LeBron James and his tenure as a Laker, we may want to kick the can on that or make damn sure he's cool on not playing with Kyrie before we make any deals that involve someone else and the picks and stuff that it takes to get Kyrie. That's all I'm saying. If Bron say I'm cool, I don't want to play with Reed, then we out of here. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what it comes down to for me. But if he's hell-bent on playing with Reed and he wants to play with his old teammate and that he thinks he can win a championship with his own teammate, you bring in Fred VanVleet. If it gets in the way of his faith, that's a problem. That's a problem. So I would tell the Lakers to make sure that y'all make sure he's cool with this. Make sure he's cool with this. And I think also make sure that the bag that you're giving to Fred VanVleet is exactly what you want to give him. Don't overpay for him. Don't be halfway in the fence about Fred and, you probably want to go and get Trey instead. Don't do that. Don't do that. Save your bag for who you're getting and be certain. Because I hear that Fred VanVleet and Trae Young are both signing with Clutch. There's only one bag in LA. So not everybody that signs with Clutch is trying to aim to get to the Lakers. And I don't think that Fred signing with Clutch is an automatic sign that he's coming to the Lakers. I think everyone can use the Lakers as leverage to get where they really want or to get the bag they really want. And judging his situation, as we've discussed it already, he's a slumping player in a free agency situation, as we've already described, and the level from which he's risen from. I'd imagine he really wants to stay in the place he's been at. Keep his routine, keep his life going. I'm sure he'd rather take Toronto's bag, to be honest with you. So I am of the mindset that we should be balanced in understanding that he may be pointing himself in the direction of the Lakers, or he may be pointing himself in the direction of trying to get a bag from Toronto and using the Lakers to help him do it, which actually seems more likely to me for some reason. It does. Based on the fact that he's signing with them now and he's been slumping like he has. He needed a boost to kind of help his value. What's better than to sign with a big-time free agency team that can help provide you the leverage that your play otherwise did not. So that's what I believe is happening there. At any rate, if he does land with the Lakers, I'm going to be happy about it. I'm a big Fred VanVleet guy. So just like I'm a big Kyrie Irving guy. So this is one of those situations where it's just about who would you rather have from me. And I just believe LeBron James' attachment to this situation makes it Kyrie. It makes it Kyrie. You gotta respect that. If you don't, and he gets upset, then you can have more problems with your chemistry. So that's another thing. It's like, whatever we doing, we already got chemistry issues. Don't do nothing that's gonna either piss him off, piss AD off, or whatever. Let's improve our chemistry. And I think Fred VanVleet will go a long way in improving our chemistry for sure. Make no mistake about it, he ain't gonna be a deterrent to that. But we just got to make sure we're not doing stuff that our core will not be on board with. So that's my thought on that. Yeah, man. So hopefully the trade rumors will continue to roll in. We want the Lakers to do something. I really don't mind if we just get a good deal for those picks. I've already came to terms with that a little bit ago. It's not going to even be something I poo-poo anymore. I just feel like the right thing to do is to leave LeBron no room to say you didn't do enough. And if we go all in with those picks, as long as we're bringing back something that we can retrade, we can always get them picks back. Maybe even more, depending on how much better the player plays. So somebody like Fred VanVleet, I think it's easily to retrade him. A guy like Kyrie Irving, maybe not as much, which is something we think about. Depending on what's going on in the circumstance when we try to trade him, it may not be as, these are the type of things. You got to make sure the assets you are getting are players you can use and are retradable. So we got a lot of things to consider in regards to the Lakers, but what I don't want us to do is just give $40 million to anybody and just run off thinking that you've made yourself better. No. Also, if I had a choice, honestly, and I'm going to give my bag like $30 million, $40 million to somebody, my eyes is on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He is rising to no end. If we can give up 2 picks to go get him from OKC, that's probably the player you want. Why? Because he's taller, man. He plays defense. He's taller. He's already got LA roots from the fact that he was drafted with the Clippers. He's averaging basically 30 points every 5 minutes, and he can pretty much do everything. He's a surgeon. I don't think it's going to be too long before he starts winning again, and we already know he can play under the bright lights. If I had a choice and I couldn't get Kyrie Irving, I'm looking at the timeline. I'm looking at somebody I think can win with LeBron James. I'm looking at somebody who's going to take over when LeBron leaves. I'm looking at all these different things, both sides of the floor, marketable. He kind of fits the bill that I'm looking at. He just fits the bill, man. And the fact that the OKC Thunder have so many people to pay, including a bunch of guards that he could very well either step in front of or step to the side and have to play other positions so they can play his position. He's already been paid and their timeline doesn't fit him. And you consider if they're still tanking, which they probably are, they got more people to pay that they haven't even drafted yet. Do they ever win a championship with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? It's like the OKC Thunder with the timeline they're on? Maybe. You know what I mean? It's going to be a couple years before he see that, though. I feel like, for me, height is what seals that. Height. What is he, like 6'6", 6'7"? Big, plays defense, plays offense, can't be stopped. Yeah. Great catch and shoot, great off the dribble, great everything, basically. Yeah. That's somebody we need to kick the can on. If you're going to give up 2 picks and you're going to pay somebody trillions of dollars, make damn sure that they fit the bill in terms of everything you need. Because at the end of the day, what are we having trouble with? Size. We're having trouble with size. So if we're going to give a big bag to anybody, I would rather it not be somebody Patrick Beverley's height. Honestly, I would rather it not. Go get me Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I know he's tall, and he's going to score bucket for bucket with all those people, and he's going to rebound over them, too, because he's taller than them. Besides, somebody's going to have to get out the way for Giddey. Either I don't know what's going to happen, but Giddey's going to take over at some point. I'm just be honest with you. That's their floor general. So that's another thing that's going to get in the way. Or they can give us Giddey. They don't want to give a Shai, give me Giddey. One of them going to have the ball in their hands, and the other one's not, and that's a problem. And you got to consider Trey Mann and all these other players that they got who also have crazy upside. What if they get the second pick in the draft? A scoop? How many guards they need at that level? Call them. BDL44. Thank you all for watching.